Welcome to Postcards from Home, the program that lets you in on the many interesting and exciting opportunities to experience and enjoy what is uniquely Pinellas County. In this edition, Pinellas County gets more visitors than the Grand Canyon, and we'll show you why you should consider taking a vacation right here in your own backyard. We'll visit two special places right here that are fun for the whole family to visit, rain or shine. And you might not believe it, but these scenes are from the most urbanized county in Florida. We'll tell you where some of the surprising adventures in nature are to be had right here in Pinellas County. All of this and more when we send you Postcards from Home. Hello, I'm Tom Iovino, and from beautiful Sand Key Park, welcome to Postcards from Home. Beaches like this are just one of the many things that attract visitors from all over the world to Pinellas County. But the folks who live here often take them for granted or overlook them altogether. I recently went to Fort DeSoto Park and met David Downing of Visit St. Petersburg Clearwater to talk about a new concept in the tourism industry. David, thank you very much for coming out today and talking to us.
Thanks for having me.
David, there's a whole concept out there. There's a whole new word out there called staycation. What does it mean and why are we talking about it today?
It's a simple word. It sounds good, but basically the idea is to explore where you live instead of going someplace else to explore that. Not just here, but all of America. I think people are kind of guilty of ignoring their own backyards. And if Pinellas County is your backyard, there is so much to see and do.
And look at this backyard. We're here at Fort DeSoto Park. Now, tourism I know is important to Pinellas County. Just how important is it?
Tourism is the #1 employer in Pinellas County. About 84,000 jobs are directly related to tourism. More people visit Pinellas County, about 6 million a year, than visit the Grand Canyon.
That's a lot of people.
It is. It's a lot of people. It's a business we take very seriously. That's what we do 24/7, 365, is promote this area. In Europe, in Germany, in the German-speaking Central Europe, we have sales and representation. In the United Kingdom, we have sales and representation. Here, we have public relations firms also in those areas, and we just started shared representation with Tampa Bay and Company in Argentina and Brazil. So what we do all the time is scour the world spreading the message about St. Pete Clearwater.
And all those visitors have to board an international flight and fly here for hours. People who live right here in Pinellas County just have to drive down the street a few minutes to be someplace new and interesting.
True. You know, when you consider any location, what their strengths are, what draws money to an area. Some places have resources. They have oil, they have ore, they have these things. We have tourism. Tourism is a renewable resource. To think that we have, just by the very nature of our nature here, people want to come see this, experience it, swim in the Gulf. People from all over the world come here, they stay in our hotels, they eat in our restaurants, they go to attractions, they rent cars. Basically, they come here, empty their pockets, and they go home. And they come back next year if they like what they've seen this year. So the idea of having that renewable, that sustainability in the business of tourism is very important, and something I think that's often overlooked.
And while staying at home, of course, is cheap and convenient, if you really need to get away and recharge those batteries, there are actually excellent lodging facilities right here in Pinellas County, too.
Excellent, a wide range of different kind of lodging facilities. You know, when you travel the state, you go down to Miami, for example, you go over to Fort Lauderdale, even down to Naples, what you're going to pay to stay in a hotel on the beach in those destinations, much more than what you're going to pay on Pinellas County beaches. Everything from a luxury resort down to a little Florida bungalow, and that's special.
If you have to get away and recharge those batteries, it's right here.
It's right here. It's a great value. And it's, you know, it's an inexpensive vacation. You don't have to break the family bank to have a staycation here. There's so many opportunities within a few miles.
Tell me a little bit about this park and its tie to the tourism industry.
This park is a stunner. For 2 years in a row now, it's been named the #1 beach in the United States by TripAdvisor. Before that, Dr. Beach named it the #1 beach in the U.S. in 2005. The particular thing about TripAdvisor is it's voted All of the people who use TripAdvisor voted on this, 25 million worldwide. That's the number of people who belong to TripAdvisor, and they set these votes up on their page, and this was voted #1 beach.
Incredible. When you think about the amount of opportunities to just come here, but there are other areas in this county too that aren't. This isn't just the only beach park the county has.
Well, I mean, the thing about Pinellas County is that it's a peninsula on a peninsula. So your opportunities to enjoy the Gulf or the bay or any type of water are pretty much unlimited, starting in Tarpon Springs, going all the way down the Gulf side to Fort DeSoto right here, and then back up the bay side through Safety Harbor through Oldsmar. It's almost without end.
And you're talking about opportunities to go fishing, opportunities to go boating, even canoeing and kayaking. And I understand that that's actually taking off as an opportunity for people to go outside and explore their environment.
True. The ecotourism movement right now, the voluntourism movement, people who do volunteer vacations, even just fishing alone, there's so many substrata of why someone would come fishing here. There's flats fishing, there's shore fishing like these guys are doing right here. You go out in the Gulf, you can fish on the reef out there, you can fish off of the bridges over here, you can do, basically boat fishing, land fishing, it just never ends.
So plenty of opportunities to get outside and explore what's only a few minutes away.
Yep.
And you don't even have to go and spend that night in a hotel some strange city. You can actually do it right here and see some of the familiar spots.
That's the amazing part. We're in Pinellas, which is the most densely populated county in Florida. But at the same time, you have expanses like this out at Fort DeSoto, expanses like Caladesi Island or Honeymoon State Park, where you can walk down for a quarter of a mile or mile and probably not see anyone else. That's one of the great things about Pinellas County. Take a place like Weeden Island, for example. You go canoeing out there. In the middle of the most densely populated county in Florida, you have extraordinary opportunities to get right up close with nature.
Now, you had mentioned Weeden. Now, this is another experience totally different. Weeden Island Preserve and Brooker Creek Preserves are actually green spaces inside the county.
They are green, and that's something else that makes them extraordinary is that, again, to think that those islands of pretty much untouched nature right now exist in the middle of this densely populated county, I think speaks highly of the county, and it speaks to the importance that the county places on keeping these spaces, keeping this space and keeping these other green spaces for use not just by tourists, but by the people who live here as well.
Now, David, you mentioned about our world-renowned beaches, but we have one other world-renowned asset right here in Pinellas County that people who like to exercise or just get out and take a nice long walk and use. What is that?
This is something, again, that people who live here might take for granted, but the Pinellas Trail, 37 miles and growing all the time, new spurs being added. The idea that you can, again, through the most densely populated county in Florida, take this pretty much unending urban greenway from Tarpon Springs down to St. Petersburg downtown is a spectacular resource. And you've been out there. You've seen the blading and the biking and the jogging that goes on.
It gets heavily used by a lot of people, both tourists and locals.
And tourists, again, they come here and they think, wow, this is a spectacular resource right in the middle of town, an old railroad track being used for something that is so forward-thinking. It speaks to, again, recycling, an eco-bent on taking something that exists and trying to find a way where we can use it to promote the area. We had the Today Show live on the Pinellas Trail last year. A guy was on his bike talking to the camera, talking about how you can use trails like this, urban greenways, to get to work. You don't have to use your car all the time. So it's both a resource for tourists and for locals, and it also, I think it speaks highly of the county and the commitment to ecotourism and trying to repurpose things.
Now, in this densely populated county, there are 24 cities, and each of them has their own particular charm, their own particular appeal. One of them really stands out as a tourism destination, and that's Tarpon Springs. What's going on up there? Tarpon
Springs is something that when someone comes to our area, say a reporter who wants to write about it, when they see Tarpon Springs, they're completely taken away. They have no idea that this 100-plus-year-old Greek community existed. They have no idea that there's an enclave, a Greek enclave, where people speak Greek in the streets all day long. You can walk down the main boulevard there, and there's not one chain restaurant. It's all locally owned. And it's a functioning fishing village, sponge fishing and tourism happened after the fact that it's a working fishing village.
Well, it's nice to see it added on. You can actually get that whole history lesson as well.
Sure.
With this. That's pretty interesting stuff. Now, today's beautifully sunlit. It's a gorgeous day out on the beach.
Right.
But when it rains in Pinellas County, this isn't all you get. There are other things to do on those rainy days where you're trying to find something to do.
That's a good point, and an interesting sidebar to that is that the #1 tourist attraction in Pinellas County, outside of the beaches, is the Dali Museum. They have kids programs as well. They have coffee with a curator. They have all these other programs that go on there specifically for a rainy day, if you want to use it for a rainy day. But there are people who come to this destination just to go to that museum.
Well, that's a collection of artwork from the master himself. I mean, that's something you have to see.
And it's world class.
Oh, sure.
It's on par with the Tate Modern in London, with the Museum of Modern Art in New York, with Los Angeles County. It's up there.
Now there are events all around the county. You've got the Ironman Triathlon. Right. You've got the events take place in St. Pete and Clearwater and Largo, all around the county. Where would people go to find out more information about these events?
On our website, visit stpeteclearwater.com. We have listings of events. We have daily listings. In fact, you can go to our Facebook page.
Oh, really?
Go to visit stpeteclearwater.com. Click through to our Facebook page. Click through to our Twitter page. We tweet daily about goings-on in the area for people who are just visiting, for locals in the industry, or for people who live here and want to know, hey, what's happening today? Check in with us. That's what we're there for.
So you guys are plugged into the new social networking, you're plugged into the media. This is good stuff. And when you think about it, people normally save for years, for months or years, to come here on a once-in-a-lifetime vacation. Yep. And where do we live?
This is the place to vacation. And again, if you live here, you might take it for granted. I've talked with people who've lived here for 20 years and haven't been to Tarpon Springs.
Wow.
I've talked with people who've never been to the Mardi Gras celebration in Dunedin, for example. People who've never been to Caladesi Island or Honeymoon Island. I know it's easy to get in your comfort zone of finding your own little piece of beach that you like, but in this particular area, it really pays to branch out a bit. And
think about it, you're probably less than an hour's drive away from any point in the county.
True. That's a good point, too, because the Tampa Bay region is one of our main draws for tourism. When you consider how many people live within an hour's drive of here, or Orlando, for example, a little bit farther out, but still, Orlando is one of our feeder markets. People in Orlando, they pretty much have everything except a beach, and they have.
We've got one of those.
We have many of those. We have 35 miles of beach, including 2 of the #1 beaches in the U.S. right now, and that's a message that really resonates with regional tourism, and people pay attention.
David, I think I'm going to have to get out and do a little more exploration in Pinellas County. Thanks for coming out today.
Thanks so much.
And where did you see that dolphin? Over here?
Hi, I'm Stephen Leatherman, also known as Dr. Beach. Congratulations, Pinellas County. You've got 2 #1 beaches.
Pinellas County has 2 especially outstanding destinations that would be fun to visit anytime, but especially on those rainy days you might otherwise be cooped up at home. Our first stop, Brooker Creek Preserve. Jim, this is one heck of an impressive place. What is this?
Oh, this is the Brooker Creek Preserve Environmental Education Center that you're now standing in.
This is some impressive work.
We have 6,000 square feet of hands-on interactive exhibit fun for visitors.
What are people going to see when they come here?
Oh, they're going to see all sorts of interactive exhibits, both things that focus on some of the different plants and animals that they can see here. And in some cases, like with our World Underfoot exhibit, we've actually magnified the creatures. So things like scorpions and pillbugs and antlions, things like that, we've made 5 times larger than life. The other one that people really enjoy is the gopher tortoise burrow exhibit. We have, again, 5 times larger than life, and visitors can actually crawl through the burrow on their hands and knees, or if they're really little, they can walk, and they can see different forms of wildlife that are oftentimes living in with the gopher tortoise. Things like, I'm not going to tell you because I want people to come and see what's in there. They're not live, but gives them a good idea of the relationship between the gopher tortoise and a number of other species of animals here in the preserve. So that's one really interactive exhibit that we have here. We also have other exhibits like the watershed exhibit, which focuses on explaining to people what is a watershed, where is the Brooker Creek watershed, and what are some of the human impacts that have happened over time.
Okay.
So that's another exhibit that we have. And probably the other one that's a really
Big standout.
standout is certainly our object theater. The object theater is a short little theater experience, and again, I won't tell you too much about it, but it actually will give visitors a historical and ecological overview of the preserve. So it's very interactive, utilizing a lot of historical artifacts, and they'll meet characters from the past. We'll just leave it at that.
That sounds intriguing. Now, Jim, you had mentioned this is a fun place, and obviously it looks like there'd be a lot of fun for people to come and get. But that's only part of the mission. The other part is education about what's around them, isn't it?
Right, right. Bringing them in so that it's hands-on. The goal is for them to learn, to learn about Pinellas County's wildest place. The preserve is over 8,000 acres. It's tucked away in the far northeast corner of Pinellas County, and many people have not seen what is often referred to as wild Florida. Wild Florida is what this place used to look like. Now, we're not saying that the preserve is pristine. It has had its impacts. Humans have been here for thousands of years, but it gives them a glimpse of what natural Florida is all about. We want them to learn about the ecosystems here, as well as the important plants and animals. And the other thing we emphasize in the exhibits, and we will be also doing with our programs here, is the relationship between people and the environment.
Sure.
We are not separate from the environment, we are a part of it. And everything we do has an impact on that environment. So getting people to think about how we do things, could we do things a little more sensitively in regard to how it relates to the environment.
Well, what you're teaching and how you're teaching it, I think people are going to remember the lesson pretty well.
Good, and we hope to reinforce it with actually getting people out into the preserve. So hopefully when you have a little more time next time, we'll get you out into the preserve.
Jim, we'll be sure to stop by.
All right, thank you very much. Good to see you.
And now, our volunteer reporter, Doris Don, is going to visit the fascinating education center at Weeden Island Preserve. Doris?
Thanks. Joining me today is Grant Craig. He's the environmental educator here at Weeden Island Preserve. Grant, thanks for joining us. And can you tell us about the Connecting People in Place exhibit and what can visitors expect to see and experience here?
Sure. The Connecting Peoples in Place exhibit really showcased the resources of Weeden Island Preserve, from the ecosystems and plants and animals, as well as the great history of the preserve. We have a long history of Native American occupation and some recent history out here as well in the 20s and 30s right up to the present today. This really provides visitors background information, what they would expect to see while walking on our trails. And a lot of our exhibits are designed for all ages. There's interactive aspects to the exhibits where kids can get in and pull and push and put stuff together and really learn about some of the things they might see here on the preserve, and as well as plenty of information for adults that really want to soak up a lot of knowledge about the things out here.
Wow. Now, can you tell me, how would it benefit a visitor to experience the exhibit before actually going into the preserve?
Sure. There's a lot to see out there, and a lot of the animals or processes and things that you would notice walking along the trails are not very apparent, especially if it's your first time walking our trails or paddling some of our canoe trails. The exhibits really provide a lot of background information about some of the processes that drive these ecosystems out here, whether it be the role of some of the small crabs crawling up the mangrove trees, or just more of what's going on, and they'd be able to use what they learn in here and take that out into the preserve and be a more rewarding experience.
There's a lot of great things to see and experience here. What do you want people to understand and know about this exhibit?
That these exhibits, well, they're free, and it's a great centrally located place to come and really learn about our local history and give folks that live here, as well as visitors to where we live, kind of a sense of place for Pinellas County, and not just the ecosystems and plants and animals that are here, but as well as the history of people and people's interactions and involvements with those plants and animals throughout time. And whether it's pulling drawers to discover different information, or putting together pieces of ancient pottery and acting like an archaeologist, A lot of these interactions really engage the visitor and allow them to take more of that experience home with them. These exhibits showcase a lot of the artifacts that were found here at Weeden Island and tell us so much about the Native Americans and their interaction with the preserve during their time here. One of the neat exhibits, you can actually pull out a slice of a midden, which these were the mounds where a lot of the artifacts were collected by the Native Americans over time. And you can pull out a slice and see the layers of artifacts and how a midden is constructed. Many of these exhibits show how Native Americans interacted and used the resources that were found here at Weeden Island, and we can make comparisons to how we use these same resources today. The ecosystems, plants, animals of the preserve supported the Native Americans here for hundreds of years, and they'll continue to support us well into the future. And there's a lot of different things that we can do to help ensure that they continue to support us into the future, and that information is contained in these exhibits as well. So this Connecting People in Place exhibit is just one part of the entire Weeden Island Preserve experience.
Well, Grant, thanks for joining us. And make sure you bring the whole family down to the Weeden Island Preserve. And don't forget to visit the Connecting People in Place exhibit. It's fun and it's free.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's a great educational piece for the community as well as for kids. My son is loving it. There's a lot of interactive parts that keep his attention, but I think there's also some great things here for adults, and it's great to preserve the community.
You hear it all the time. Pinellas County is the most densely populated, urbanized, congested, paved-over place in Florida. But there's more to Pinellas than just subdivisions, malls, and US 19. A lot of you are going to be really amazed at what we're about to show you. What do you think? If I told you this is an expedition down through the Amazon jungle, and this was some of the majestic wildlife in a great national park out west, and that this is a farm somewhere out in the rural open lands of the Great Plains, you'd believe me, wouldn't you? Well, all of these scenes are from right here in that paved-over Pinellas County we were talking about. The canoe trail at Weeden Island Preserve, the woods of Brooker Creek Preserve, and the Living History Park at Heritage Village. There's no denying that we're one of the most urbanized places in the country, but we also have some of the most unique opportunities to take the edge off and still experience nature, tranquility, and even the quieter way things were hundreds of years ago. Heritage Village, in the heart of the county, is a 21-acre site with 28 different structures, some dating back to the 19th century. You can stroll through the peaceful grounds on your own, take in the guided tours, and even participate in some of the programs that have been offered, like a blacksmithing class, or old-fashioned country cooking in a kettle over an open fire. And right next door to Heritage Village, you'll find the beautiful Florida Botanical Gardens with its over 30 acres of cultivated gardens and 90 acres of natural areas. Here, you'll see everything from traditional display flowers to how that fruit you put on your cornflakes grows. And, as if that wasn't enough, there are plenty of opportunities to just chill out and take in the wildlife that call these grounds home. Now, we might be urban, but believe it or not, we've got camping. Beautiful waterfront camping at Fort DeSoto Park. Can you imagine? This thing is just a short drive from any point in the county. The campgrounds come equipped with all kinds of amenities like electricity, running water, showers, and more. So it's primitive but comfortable enough even for first-timers. Now this is a great staycation idea for the whole family. You even can visit the site of a Native American village at Philippi Park and climb up on a mound that's still standing, even though it was built long before the Spanish conquistadors arrived here in the early 16th century. An interpretive sign will tell you about the fascinating Tocobaga people who built it and lived right here hundreds of years ago. And Philippi is just one of Pinellas County's many beautiful parks, each with something of its own personality to experience. All offer the typical amenities you'd expect to find, like playgrounds and picnic areas, but some offer a little extra in the way of spectacular panoramic vistas, and others offer access to some fairly wild territory where encounters with wildlife are not uncommon, whether it's deer grazing at Chestnut Park or one of Florida's mascots, the American alligator, cruising the waters at Sawgrass Lake Park. Some parks have boardwalks that will easily get you into some nature, and in some parks there are dirt hiking trails if you're feeling a little bit more adventurous. Many of the parks, as well as the nature preserves at Burker Creek and Weeden Island, also regularly offer guided nature trail hikes, often moderated by volunteers. And if you want to try a really unique and different experience, go on one of the night hikes that are sometimes offered. Pinellas County Parks and Preserves offer a host of experiences for the whole family to enjoy and escape the concrete and asphalt. And some of the experiences are more adventurous than others, like this Family Creek Adventure at Burker Creek Preserve, where families really get their feet wet and learn about what lives in our ecosystems. I asked Ryan Dittmar of Tarpon Springs if he was surprised to find these kinds of things to do here in the most urban county in Florida.
Oh yeah. I'm amazed sometimes. I'm a math teacher, and when I talk to my kids and I tell them different things that I go and do on the weekend, they're always amazed that there's even things that they can go and do, and there's places like this they can come and see. I think for everybody, the public, just to see what's out here and why it's so important to have things like this for us all to do. For people who are a little skittish about getting around the water, they can come and kind of watch how fun it is and how truly safe it is. And then just the interaction that the kids go through once they come back to the lab and take a look at everything, just the eye-opening experiences of what we're all finding today.
I came out just because I was watching the news and saw this activity was happening today, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity to take my kids out and experience the nature. My children had a wonderful time here today, and I wasn't expecting them to, and I think it was a good chance for them to get their feet wet, splash around, and learn something about nature. I think that it's very important that families spend time together, and this is one of the opportunities that we have here in Pinellas County to enjoy nature and spend quality time with our children.
There really is so much to see and do right here in our own Pinellas County. Well, that wraps it up for this edition of Postcards from Home, and I hope you enjoyed the program. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please call us at 464-4600 or send us an email. Our address is postcards@pinellascounty.org. We'd love to hear from you. If you'd like more information about the places we talked about today, you should visit our website, pinellascounty.org, or you can call us at 464-3000. From Sand Key Park, I'm Tom Iovino for Postcards from Home. Wish you were here.